All right. All right. How are you, Miss Knight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great, and you've been doing such a great job since you've been here with us at Julius Chambers. How is your experience so far?
My experience at Chambers has been a learning experience. There's definitely been a learning curve. My first year, I was in English 2, and I transitioned to social studies, and the transition went smoothly. I've had a lot of support from my coaches, and my new coaches, Mr. Jackson, he's great. From you, you've been there from the minute you came. You was there, like, what you need, what you need, what you need. Our coaching sessions have been amazing. Always leave with something. Miss Harris is amazing. Dr. Hicks asking about just life and checking up on me. I did have a baby, so he's been taking that extra step to make sure I feel supported. And like my PLC, like, we're knocking this out. So
yeah, I've been to a couple of your PLC visits, so it's been really good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's just get right into it. I had an opportunity to visit your classroom today. I know that you guys have been preparing the students and working really hard getting them ready for the ELC, which is awesome. And today I got to witness you all going over the study guide questions from everything from the Age of Revolution and Foundations, all the way to the modern America conversations about the U.S. involvement and what was it? Operation Desert Storm. So I even got a little lesson myself today, you know, just hearing you go over those important reviews with them and from each unit. So as you know, we've been doing walkthroughs, and our focus specifically in this quarter has been Core Action 3. And as you know, Core Action 3 is where we come in and we're looking for every opportunity that you can provide the student to be engaged in the lessons. So today, what I saw, students were very engaged. There were a couple students who looked like they may have been struggling a little bit, but you know, it was nothing for them to reach over to a neighbor and say, hey, you know, where you are in this. So that was really good that they can, they feel like they're equipped enough to support each other.
Right.
So that's awesome. I was just wondering, what evidence do you have that shows students were engaged in the lesson? Like, from your point of view, how could you tell the students were engaged?
So aside from just actively monitoring, while they were completing their study guide in small groups, I heard a lot of course I heard them talking, but what I liked was them questioning each other almost.
Awesome.
So I would walk around and I would hear them ask questions. It's like, well, no, because this was this and this was that. And it was kind of like, okay, so you guys are actually diving into this, because some of this stuff, like the study guide is for the final. So some of this stuff we learned back in September.
Right.
So simply questioning it, and along with, they were helping my new students, my students who came. I got new students 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, like assisting them, like, oh, well, we did talk about this. If you look at this one pager on my classroom, I have one pagers all over the wall.
Yeah.
Well, we did this one pager on that, like, look, and we talked about this.
Yeah.
So simply, like, just they were having a discussion about what we were talking about. And then I actually switched the groups up.
Okay.
So they were working with their friends, and then we switched it, and they started working with people they'd never worked with before. So that was a cool little switch to see them still conversing and questioning and.
Absolutely, I completely understand. That's awesome. And I know that from our coaching sessions, one of the things that we have been focusing on is working on strategies to keep the students engaged in the lessons, regardless if it's, you know, you standing in front of the room facilitating or they're working on independent time. So I think you've done a really good job with that. I've seen a lot of growth over the last few weeks in, you know, seeing the students staying continuously engaged. So I want to give you a thumbs up for that. That is an awesome job. So what strategies do you feel you have implemented that seem to be effective with keeping the students engaged throughout the lesson?
Aside from, I feel like the obvious, like aggressively monitoring them and making sure they're on task. But cold calling has been my friend.
Okay.
Once I got comfortable with my kids, because I make a big point to build relationships with my kids.
Awesome.
Once we got to that point, cold calling, I didn't get much pushback. It was kind of like, okay, like just a reminder, like, oh yeah, like, you know, cold calling. And for this particular lesson, I would sit and just watch.
Okay.
They see me come in, but after doing it for so long, they kind of know, like, I'm not even here to assist. I'm just here to watch. I want to hear what you're talking about. And if they have the question, they know I'm here. But just kind of like allowing them to know that I'm here, but I'm not here to step on y'all's toes.
Gotcha.
We've built a relationship. You see how we do things in class. We all have our materials. Now I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting.
Right.
And I also, for this particular lesson as well, it was great seeing them utilize the materials they've gotten since August.
Cool.
So some were like, wait, we got the notes from,
Yeah,
look,
yeah,
you know? So that was great too. Just making sure they have everything they need. Like I tell them, keep everything. Whatever I give you, keep it.
Yep, that's awesome. And that helps them stay organized as well. That is great. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned small groups and how they would work together. Can you explain your rationale for how you group your students?
So initially, when it came to small groups, I was a little, I don't want to say apprehensive. I was a little like, I just didn't know how to go about it.
Right.
Because, you know, kids want to work with their friends. Kids want to, and considering it's history class, it can be really lecture based.
Right.
But with this, I try to make it to where if we do group work, it's two different types. Like I was telling you a little bit earlier. So for 30 minutes, I let them work with their friends.
Right.
I like to listen to their conversation, make sure they're staying on task, and I make them, you need to provide evidence.
Right.
So once we had them do their work, do their study guide, I'm looking at everyone's work, everyone has stuff down, we switch groups, and I switch their groups based off engagement within other people's groups, as well as their accuracy on past work. So I may have a kid who may struggle a little bit with someone who's excelling in the class,
Right.
and just see how that dynamic changes.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how, and it's worked for me so far.
Yes.
So, and I try to, the only thing I'm still trying to balance is the number of kids in a group,
Gotcha.
because
They tend to link up, right?
Right. And that's it. I'm sorry, I'm shivering.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. No, and I agree with that strategy, and I love that strategy so much. Even when I was in a classroom, that was one of my most effective strategies. And I think it's just simply because you want to use your students and not only give them like a position of leadership, because kids like to feel needed, they like to feel important. And if you say, hey, you know, you've been doing excellent on units X, Y, and Z, would you mind working with, you know, two other students that you know, not saying you would say this to the student, but that you know may be struggling, you know, you could put that one strong and they can help those two weaker.
And then you're
students.
noticing those who are a little weaker, now they're,
Right.
it's kind of like, what's the saying where they're like, the student becomes like the teacher. Like now they're kind of like, oh wait, because I do know this, I do remember this. Remember, now they're pulling different segments into it. So it's cool to watch.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's great. So, I mean, you've been doing really well overall, Ms. Knight. Do you feel that if there are any like professional development opportunities or any other workshops that you've heard of that we may not be aware of, anything that you feel would be conducive to your development as a teacher?
I'm not sure if this is a thing. And I'm sure it is, but something around the idea of lesson strategies, because I know teaching history, me and my PLC struggled to kind of find different things for them to do. We don't want it to just be notes and assignments. So we would give them a project, a gallery walk, of something to kind of just make it more interactive and to help them retain the information a little better, as opposed to just, you know, assuming they have it because they wrote it down.
Yeah,
you know?
no. I can give you one quick strategy just right off the top of my head, and it's something that I used to do with my students, and I feel like it helped. So before we would start like a new lesson or a new unit, I would allow them to go out on the web and search. This is what we're gonna be talking about. Go out, find some information. You're gonna bring it back to the class and share what you've learned. Okay. And that just kind of, it's like pre-work, you know, to
you can kind of do that with like maybe a KWL and have it come prepared for what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. And they would just put together, you know, a little, you know, quick 2-3 facts. This is what I learned about section is in Civil War and Reconstruction. I
Right.
learned A, B, and C.
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying? They're
yeah.
sharing with the class. Someone may have the same thing, someone may not. So you would call on someone who has something different. Come share share with the class what you learned.
Right.
And that'll just kind of prepare them and kind of open them up to receive whatever you're about to give them, because that builds on to whatever they went out and found on their own.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so the kids are all prepared, they're doing their finals and everything. So if you could reteach any lesson, what would you change or do differently?
There's no specific lesson, but like, just for an example, we talked about the civil rights movement, we talked about Jim Crow, and what me and my team noticed was there's a big, they're kind of out of touch, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard watching it, because like we would watch something or I tell them something, they're all kind of just like, what's this guy doing with me, Miss Knight?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, you're a little black boy.
Yeah.
You're a little black girl, you're brown. You know what I mean? This wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So kind of just, I would, if I could, like, find a way to make this more personal for them. Like, I don't want them crying in class, you
Right.
know? But I want them to understand the significance of the thing I'm talking about for every lesson. You know,
Right.
because this happened.
It's
This is,
history.
I'm not telling
Right.
you, this isn't numbers. This is me telling you this is what happened.
Yeah.
Your parents or your grandparents probably experienced some of this. So it's kind of like, just, if I could find a way to just get them to take it personally,
Right.
you know, just because it is that deep.
Absolutely.
And I want them to understand that.
Absolutely. History wasn't one of my favorite subjects in school, but I did find interest in it because I am lucky enough. My grandmother's still living. She just turned 85, so she lived through segregation. She used to pick cotton. And more recently, she just told my daughter, which would be her grand, that she's like, yeah, I used to pick cotton 200 pounds a day. Like, what? What is 200 pounds of cotton? So, things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, making it more relatable does have a deeper impact for learning.
Yeah.
When they can relate to it. It's history, so they'll never be able to experience it. So you're trying to do the best you can to give them I guess the essence of history.
Right.
This is what.
And if I could tie it into
Yeah.
anything they're experiencing now, it's kind of like, well, this isn't too far off from what
Right,
happened.
right, exactly,
You know?
yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're right. Dang, that's kind of crazy. So if I just want them to take it personally, and that's my goal, because I feel like if they take it personally, they'll also be more willing to comprehend it and
Absolutely.
apply it.
Absolutely. One other thing, and I know, I'm a stickler for old school education because it worked for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But another thing we used to do, and this is a strategy, you can use it, or you may not, you can share with Hearst and Seabury as well, but we used to do current events. Like in the morning, teacher may have the news on, or she'd say, for homework the night before, go home, watch the news, bring me back a story, something like that. And that may help, keep them in touch with what's going on now, because they're stuck on TikTok and social media. They don't know what's really going on out here.
Right.
So, maybe giving them some credit, bring a current event in for homework, or today, first 15 minutes of class, we're going to focus on what's going on right now. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's great. But, I just wanted to throw that out there. See if that helps. I mean, if it doesn't work, okay, cool.
Right.
But it's an opportunity to get some credit.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, Ms. Knight, overall, I think you've been doing a great job. I love having you in the Beginning Teacher Support Program. You are an inspiration. I've been getting feedback from other teachers that you've been helping and inspiring and just keeping motivated, and that's awesome. And I just want to celebrate you in this moment because that helps me as well. So keep up the good work, and I'll see you in another week.
All right. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.